Alrighty. I think we got audio. I see video. It says we're live, so let's do this. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Hobby Hangout. This is Stag Hammer Studio, and I, your humble host, Wes Spots. We are here on this wonderful Friday evening. We're going to be doing a little bit of hobby. So this evening in particular, as with most of these, I'm going to be doing a little bit of painting. We're going to be doing some mini painting this evening. I encourage everybody watching and listening out there to grab their own hobby of choice, be it painting or whatever it happens to be. And just grab a seat, grab your hobby, and listen along. And we're just going to kind of hang out for a little bit, chit chat, and get some work done. So, I want to wish everyone a happy Friday. I hope everybody had a good week out there. I know I had a pretty decent week, actually. I hope everyone's looking forward to a good weekend. I hear the weather is supposed to be rather nice, at least up here in the northeast of the U.S. Oh, coffee. Delicious coffee. Yeah, so anyway, I don't have a whole ton of news. I got a little bit of hobby stuff done throughout the week, but not a ton. Just kind of putting a few little touches on things. I had been hoping to finish up the Squigs from the last couple of episodes, and unfortunately, I just didn't really have the chance. I do have an exciting little hobby haul thing, some stuff I picked up on eBay that I'm really excited to paint. I'm not going to be working on it tonight, probably, because in my sort of like hierarchy of important stuff that needs to be painted, it's like third on the list. I want to finish the Squigs, and then chances are I will get that done this stream, probably with time to spare. I have like 2 to do, and of that, they are mostly done anyway. It's just sort of like the detail stuff that needs to be filled in, and I don't foresee it taking all that long. So after that, we're going to move on probably to the start of my zombie horde. Now, the zombie horde itself, I'm not going to be doing a ton of that on stream, probably, because otherwise it's just going to be like every week Wes paints a zombie, which, while there may be a couple of people that are super into that idea, chances are not the vast majority. So I'm going to be working on that. It's a sort of like a long part of my long pet project that is like my undead army. But I want to use my zombie horde as a chance to experiment with painting flesh tones. So I'm, as they are predominantly human zombies from the looks of it, the spectrum of human skin is broad, and as such, I'm going to attempt to represent some of that across the entirety of the horde. That being said, it's also sort of an excuse to try. They're zombies. It's rotting flesh, and gore and stuff like that. So I want to try and kind of dial in. I want to try and dial in some techniques for dealing with that. Yeah, and I think that's largely the plan with them. So my goal is to basically use them as sort of a learning experience, learning how to paint skin effectively, what kinds of techniques work well, you know, and how to make something look like old decaying flesh. Yes. So there you go. Fun times. So I'm probably going to be doing like starting one today, and you know, maybe I'll get that one zombie done today, but I don't know. We'll see. But I do also actually at the top of the show here, I want to somewhat apologize for I think it's something to do with the platform here, Facebook Live. It's one of the reasons I want to get off of Facebook Live and get back to streaming on either YouTube, or I'm actually looking at maybe doing YouTube and or Twitch, and setting up streams there. They do have software that enables you to stream to multiple platforms simultaneously. And my goal has always been to sort of like, you know, grow a YouTube channel of some fashion. And I think if I am directly using that as opposed to recording here and then uploading, it will be a little bit better. And Twitch is also good for like stream interactivity and stuff like that. So hopefully between the two, I can find sort of like a nice little flow. My issue with Facebook Live lately has been that I have started trying to schedule, like when you go live, there's, you know, the go live button, there's the schedule live button, and then there's like, I forget what it is. It's something like upcoming shows or something like that, right? Upcoming live streams. So when I go and click schedule and then go in and fill it out and make a post that's basically like advertising the fact that I will be going live at a set time, and then that stream actually starts, it crashes the stream every single time. Like the last probably 4 streams I've tried doing this, where I announce and schedule the stream on Facebook in advance, and then either I opt to manually go live a few minutes early and run my pre-stream screen for a few minutes while I sort of finish getting ready in the background. But as soon as 9 o'clock hits and that scheduled stream time hits, it kills my stream immediately. And it's got to be some bug with Facebook Live. And I'm not entirely sure, like, I don't know enough about it to be able to say, like, oh, it's because of X, Y, or Z. But it's incredibly frustrating, as I'm sure you can imagine. And, you know, I don't know how to fix it. Theoretically, I could just stop scheduling them and just try and spam Facebook constantly with, you know, like, hey, I'm going to be streaming at this time, come check me out. On the one hand, I feel like that might get kind of annoying, but on the other hand, you know, maybe that's just what I have to do. So we'll see. We'll try it. Today was kind of, I think, the last straw for it, because what I opted to do today was set the scheduled time and then just wait it out. Because like my thinking was, if I started the stream before the set time, when that set time came, maybe there was like a weird internal bug or switch that was getting flipped that it thought it was starting the stream, but instead it was killing the stream. You know what I mean? So I decided instead I was just going to wait it out and let that internal switch flip on its own and just let the stream start and then see what happened. And the same basic thing happened. Like the stream at 9 o'clock, the stream started and lasted maybe 5 seconds, maybe, and then crashed again and basically said that it couldn't access my camera or something along those lines. So I don't know. Maybe it's something with OBS, but I don't think so. Like I said, I don't know what the issue is. Maybe some Google foo will sort of clarify that. So maybe I'll look into that a little bit later on. But I think I'd almost rather just switch over to a platform that I actually want to sort of pursue. And Facebook Live was basically a means to an end because I was able to reach people a little bit more readily because I actually had, like, you know, friends on Facebook and people that were interested in Facebook groups that I could advertise to and so forth. So anyway, that's I guess a little bit of my sort of news update as it stands. We'll see. I am with the end of this Squig project. All of the stuff that I want for my first set of battle reports should be done being painted. And so that means I'm going to be starting to switch gears a little bit. I've been saying, you know, since I started doing this stream that by the end of summer, I wanted to start, filming and hopefully have something posted. I think I mentioned it on last week's stream, but this week I got a nice bonus from my job. And so with that, I finally have the funds I need to upgrade my computer. So I'm going to be ordering the new motherboard, CPU, and RAM for my computer so that I can upgrade and replace that stuff. I have a video card also waiting in the wing, just waiting to swap in. And hopefully that will solve the computer crashing issues that I have also been sort of plagued with for quite some time now. But that will give me a more stable platform from which to stream, and also a better and more reliable, video processing capability, so that I can edit and post the videos that I want to. And then we're going to start with actually hopefully filming some battle reports. I'm still gunning for end of summer, although that may end up stretching into September, which, I mean, technically fall doesn't start until like September 21st. So I've got a little bit of wiggle room there. But I might not have like my first video posted, but I will at least have started filming, hopefully, by then. So, again, we'll see. I'm waiting for a few things to kind of fall into place that I'm, it's just sort of a matter of time. Sunday, for instance, we have a couch being delivered. That means that a lot of the furniture down here is going to be sort of being redistributed. And once that's done, I then have to figure out like where I'm setting up my gaming table, my 6x4 gaming table, so that I can play the games, but then, like have a place on which to shoot and film this stuff as well. Okay. Now I think that's it for news. I didn't think I had much, but it turned into quite a bit. Sorry. All right. More coffee. Okay, so let's take the camera down to the desk here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about get my coffee out of the shot. So the stuff I picked up on eBay, and I'm super excited about this because I've wanted some of these guys for quite some time, but I found while trolling through eBay a pack of Vargeists. Vargeists it's a kit that can be built one of three different ways. There's the Crypt Flayers, the Crypt Horrors, and then the Vargeists. All can be built out of the same kit. The Vargeists themselves are technically like, think of them as like feral vampires. You'll see it when you actually see the model, but I'm just trying to give you some background. And Hello, Christy, and welcome to the stream. So the Vargeists are, like, it's basically what happens when a vampire is starved of blood for so long that they basically give in to their feral nature, and the sort of the animal inside sort of takes over a little bit. So they take on like a very bat-like aspect, which you will be seeing momentarily. But these models in particular, I've really had a sort of a fascination with, and I wanted to include some in my Death Army. But I've just been sort of like waiting for a good deal, and I found one. Not only was the price of the auction itself less than like the retail price of the models themselves, whoever the previous owner was had given them a set of custom bases, and they just looked so good. I had to bid on them, and I don't know, I think somebody else was bidding on them as well. And it just so happened that I won the auction, and I was so fucking excited. So anyway, without any further ado, I'm going to show these guys off because I am super excited to put paint on these guys at some point soon. So here is the first guy, and he is perched atop some tombstones, and there's like a bunch of skulls and looks like a impaled torso. But you can see, like I said, like the bat wings and the sort of like feral, furry, bat-human hybrid monster thing that he has become. So this is number one. Number two is this fine fellow right here. So again, super awesome base. I think I believe these are the sort of like stock poses. They were just placed on these bases in such a way that the poses looked extra dynamic. But this guy's on top of like a cemetery gate with more tombstones and that kind of stuff. Very just super dynamic. I don't know. I'm in love with these things. Okay, and then the final one is my favorite of the bunch. This is the unit leader, and here he is. This is a massive one. It's like super tall, because he is leaping off of this awesome cemetery statue thing. It's like a skeleton dude. This is from the Garden of Moor set, which was an old GW terrain set that's been like rebranded, repackaged, and resold so many times. It was like the Sigmarite Mausoleum, and then I forget what it turned into after that. It became Warcry terrain after that, and it's like the Corpse Rack Mausoleum or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, it was the Garden of Moor for a long time, and I think this is supposed to be a statue of Moor, who was the old god of death back in Warhammer Fantasy Battles. But anyway, I just love the way he's like, the statue, first of all, is like off kilter. It's like leaning to one side, if we hold it like that. And he's like just leaping right off the top of it, coming straight at you. And I just, the pose and the basing and everything about it, I absolutely adore. So I'm super excited to paint these. Like I said, I will not be starting them today, but they will be upcoming. So that is definitely something for you to look forward to as much as it is for me to look forward to. Okay, so the object of tonight's festivities, if you will, we're going to be finishing up these Squigs. Now, as you can see, this one is mostly done. He even has his pearly whites painted in. I just need to do the shading and then highlighting on the teeth and gums, and then paint his little toesies, his little claws, toenails, whatever. And then this one is done. So it's just a couple little steps that need to be done. And then this fine fellow right here, he is has a little bit more work to be done, but it's literally, he's just got some spikes in addition to his toenails that all need to be painted, and then his teeth need to be done in their entirety. But again, it shouldn't take too long. And then once those are done, we'll move on to the zombies. I'm thinking, or a zombie, I should say. Okay, what else? Oh, some other hobby stuff I managed to get done this week. This is kind of minor, but in the same regard, it's like I think it's kind of a big deal. So this archway here, I've been working on for a while now, trying to just sort of customize it a little bit and make it a little cooler. So it's from the Skaven Screaming Bell kit, and there's 2 toothpicks in here on either side. I drilled out through the bell, and then super glued the 2 toothpicks like end to end in the center, because one ended up not being quite long enough. And so what I did was, you can see them underneath here, I put little magnets on the base of the little archway, and then you can't quite see it, but you'll have to take my word for it. Oh, there it is. You can see them. There's little magnets up in these pillars here. So when all is said and done, this thing just magnetizes and clips right onto the top of the pillars. So that way it's a little bit more modular, and I can, like, if I just want the pillars, great, I can just do that. Or if I want to clip this thing on and, it'll be a little bit more stable. So anyway, I'm really excited about that, and ready to get that painted up probably in the next couple of weeks, I think. But that was a lot of adding the little skulls at the bases of the pillars, and scraping off the bell itself had a lot of design work and texture stuff on it that was specific to the Skaven faction, and I didn't want any of that, so I went in with a hobby blade and scraped and carved it all off, and then sort of added all the embellishments. There was also a bunch of little runes excuse me, that were on the archway, and those all got shaved off as well, just to kind of make it a little bit more general purpose. But yeah, like I said, I'm excited for painting up that little bit of terrain. Okay, that's enough rambling, I think. Let's get on to the painting. I know that's what I'm here for, and I'm assuming that's what some of you are here for. That and my dulcet tones. Okay, so where to begin? Let's just jump into this brush, I think. Get our little wipey cloth here. Moisten our brush. Get our wash of choice. So, with this guy here, like I said, there's not a ton left to do on him. We're going to be using this stuff here. It's a dark brown wash from Games Workshop. Anybody that is familiar with Games Workshop is familiar with Ye Olde Agrax Earthshade. And this stuff is commonly referred to as talent in a bottle, because when you throw this stuff on to whatever, it does a really great job of sinking into the recesses and showing off all the details and the definition and stuff like that. And it's not a very difficult step, but it has a fairly high impact on whatever you're painting. Not specifically this color, mind you, just washes in general. Now I'm using it, I guess, somewhat strategically, you could say, in that, I'm not putting it all over the mouth or all over the model. I'm just exactly where I need it, specifically trying to get it so that it stains the teeth a little bit darker and settles nicely in the recesses along the top by the gum line, or I guess the bottom, depending on which set of teeth they are, but you know what I mean. But like I said, it adds a little bit of separation, it adds a little bit of definition, makes it look like there's some just crud jammed in. Obviously, this guy doesn't brush his teeth, so he doesn't even have hands. Okay, so we got that situated. We're going to let that dry, and while that does, we're going to work on his little toesies. I need to remix my paint a little bit here because it's started to separate on my palette. All right. So let me know in the comments how everyone's been doing this week, and in the chat. I hope everyone's been doing well. Like I said, I myself had a pretty decent week. You know, not a ton going on. Work was pretty low key, pretty well balanced. I felt the no days were too busy. My job has a tendency, like, there's usually like a couple of days of the week, usually Mondays and Wednesdays are like just crazy busy when compared to the rest of the week. And this week it wasn't too bad. They were a little bit lighter on those days, and the other days that were usually a little bit light typically throughout the week, as a result, ended up being a little bit heavier. But you know, like I said, it ultimately felt like a pretty well balanced week in terms of workload. And you know, I like I said too, I did not get a ton of hobby stuff done, but it was ultimately a good week. Had a lot of good times with the little one, my daughter. Just kind of hanging out and doing stuff. Hello, Mandy. How's it going? I'm glad to hear it was an okay week. Okay is better than not okay. So, alright, so we're just kind of putting on a couple of coats of this darker gray on this little feller's toesies, making sure that they're looking pretty. And then I've got two other grays getting successively lighter that I will be applying to increasingly smaller and smaller areas closer and closer to the tip. And that will sort of act as the highlighting, kind of, but more just sort of like the wear and tear of the claws. All right, how are we looking on those teeth? Teeth are looking pretty good, looking pretty dry here. The color I want to use to highlight is Pallid Witch Flesh. Alright, so we're just going to crack into this. Don't need a ton, we're just going to put a little dab on the old palette here. Get that out of our face. So I've been kind of mulling over at work and stuff how I want to paint these zombies, and sort of some ideas for the paint scheme in general. These teeth, by the way, I'm just kind of doing a very, very controlled, thin little highlight down the very sort of center of the teeth so that the sides fall into shadow, and down at the base where I put that extra shade. Wow, that's really out of focus, isn't that? Hang on a second, guys. Let me see if I can fix that. My camera seems to be back on autofocus, which I typically turn off. Configure video. Yep, autofocus is back on. We don't want that. Let's do this. Save. Okay. It still looks like it's sort of focusing on the mat and not on what's in my hand. Alright. Try that again. Sorry to have to kind of do this on the fly here, but it was really irking me a little bit once I looked up and noticed this was... Oh, that was a shift. I think that's where we want it. Hit OK. Oh, that looks way better on my end. How does that look? Can you see what's in my hand a little bit more clearly now? I think that's should be a little bit clearer. It was super blurry before. I apologize. Anyway, so down at the gum lines, as I was trying to say earlier, where the dark shade has settled in the recesses, I'm leaving that, so I'm going like maybe the leaving like a third towards the gums that has no highlight on it, and then just doing like a little quick dash right down the middle of the tooth. So again, the sides fall into shadow, and the where it comes down to the gums is in a little bit of shadow. But there's his teethies, his chompers. Fun stuff. Okay, back to those little toenails. So anyway, yeah, I was thinking about like painting zombie skin and stuff like that, trying to decide like what direction I wanted to take them in. And I think basically I'm going to try doing like a bunch of lighter colors as the undertone, sort of for the most part, I think. So I'm going to be doing a lot of like pale, like whites and off-whites, so creams, and then going a little colder with some like bluish whites, maybe even some like purple gray whites, mixing in like the gray territory, like the super light gray, and then some sort of desaturated browns and tans as like the base color, and then over that using some warmer like reddish like wash to stain it and make it look a little bit more sort of warm and alive and fleshy. Zombies are dead, clearly, because they're zombies, but depending on how dead, they might still have a little bit of life to them, and so I want to try and capture that if I can. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We're gonna kind of play around a little bit with those skin tones. One of the other things I was thinking about too is those Vargeists I was showing off at the start of the stream, and trying to figure out how I was going to paint those guys. The wings, I knew I was going to paint the wings in a similar fashion to how I painted the wings on my zombie dragon. So that means they're going to be, purple, basically, different shades of purple, and with like the highlights and stuff, and then the extreme highlights will be picked out in like a pale blue gray, just to kind of pop that a little bit more. So that's the plan. But I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do for the skin tone. Like, for the life of me, I could not decide. I was going back and forth with doing like gray tones and I think like gray was really weighing heavily as an option, or just sort of like really pale skin tone. So again, like kind of like not like these guys are sort of like pale skin, but more like the grayish, something like this, goblin guy and his skin, like a off beige or something like that. But I don't know. Anyway, I think I settled on doing like a really pale blue gray. Let me see if I can. So I think, yeah, this one. So I think the color, like the trio of colors that I'm going to end up using is quite possibly, oh, that's really washed out. Let's pull that light back a little bit so that you can better see the colors. So this would end up being the sort of like base, like for the darker recesses and the shadows and stuff. And then as the highlights kind of work up, it would go into this really pale blue here, and then into this like cold whitish color here for like the more extreme highlights. And there's something about that sort of like combo. And then the fact that it's going to be purple, predominantly purple in the wings, with just a little bit of like a hint of blue to sort of like tie things together. And I think it's actually the same blue that I'm using on the skin as the deepest tone for the skin was the color that I used as like the highest highlight on the purple wings. So it'll be a very nice sort of like, you know, tie together between the two, I think. And I like the fact that it's going to be like largely a cold color scheme. And it's also going to be a fairly, I don't know if bright is the word, but I don't know, light color scheme, bright color scheme, something. So anyway, that's let's try and get our light back to a good position here. But I'm excited to get into those Vargeists at some point in the near future. Like I said, my first sort of order of business is to finish these guys, which should be done tonight. We are basically one short color away from being done with this guy. This very light gray here. We're just gonna put a little bit of highlight on the tips of those little claws where they're real skinny and sharp. And come on. There we go. Cool. So you can see, I think, hopefully, that there's a little bit of like a gradient on these claws on his toes here. So you got like the dark gray by where it meets the flesh, and then it gets just progressively lighter as it goes. With that, I believe, let me do a quick once over here, but I'm pretty sure this guy's done. Yeah, it's just the base left to do, and I will do that off stream at some point. I have the other three that I was working on previously. The bases aren't 100% done, but they're getting close. I put down the texture paint, that dried. I put a wash on top of it, and I did just a black rim around the base. I do still need to dry brush these bases with a lighter sort of like beige color to bring out the detail a little bit. And then I'll put some little grass tufty things on it to tie it in with the rest of the Shyish bases I've been doing. Sort of like a dead grass kind of thing. But anyway, they're almost there. So okay, on to this last fellow here. Let's see, do we need more of this paint? Looks like we do. So our teeth I have been doing in this Rackhearth flesh as a base tone, base color, base, yeah, whatever. You get the idea. I'm going to put a little dot of that since we only have a couple of teeth to do. Don't need a lot. Okay, we're going to get that down to a sort of workable level. We want it a little thinner than it comes out of the pot so that it applies evenly, but we do not want it like super watery and runny. All right, so we're let's start with the big teeth here. So we're gonna come in and just grab these teeth. But yeah, so like a lot of the zombies that I plan on doing will end up being sort of a couple of different, very sort of similar light bass tones. With like some will have like purple washes, some will have some sort of green washes. And then over that sort of base, some will have like brown washes. Over those bases, I will then start to like layer up with successively lighter colors towards the sort of like highlight areas of the faces and skin and stuff like that. So we'll see. Hopefully that kind of turns out okay. I did a similar thing with, I think there's pictures of it on my Instagram somewhere. But I did something similar with some Chaos Marauders that I painted up a while ago now for my Nurgle army. And I think I did that like almost 2 years ago. I think my daughter was like just born. And I would basically, like, when she would nap, I would run into the other room and, you know, pick up a paintbrush and try and hammer out as much as I could. The paint jobs were never what I would call finished on any of them. I just kind of rushed to try and put as much paint on them as I could. But it was fun. It was a fun experiment. I basically tried... It was like there was a chocolate brown skin tone that I had tried that came out pretty well, I thought. There was a couple of different, like, there was like a tan skin, sort of like, I don't know, like just like a ruddy tan, like dark tan skin. And then, you know, like basically like my pale neon skin tone. And then there was some other, like, I think one that had like purple undertones to it somewhere that I ended up not liking quite so much. Mostly because, like, I think it looked a little on the undead side, and that wasn't what I was going for with those particular models. So it just didn't quite have the feel I was going for. But the rest of them I thought looked really good. And like I said, there is, or should be, on Instagram, some sort of photographic evidence of these. But I wanted it to look very much like a horde, which is what they are. You know, a bunch of different people from all over the place all got together and said, yeah, you know what? Chaos sounds pretty good. Let's go kill some stuff. Okay, base coat on the teeth. done. Now, this is going to be a little bit longer on this guy because he's got a lot more gray stuff to do. So all these little spiky bits on his chin are going to be the same. Like I chose to interpret those all as the same sort of like horn and nail color, which is this sort of gray spread that I've been doing here. So yeah, let's see. I'm really excited to start filming battle reports. Like, I'm terrified of it in the same time because it's something completely new and different that I've never really tried before. But I think in equal parts, that's exactly why I'm excited about it, because I always like to sort of like teach myself new things. And this is sort of, will be an excuse for me to teach myself like video editing and, you know, how to operate a camera with some degree of efficacy, hopefully. But we'll see. But I have some interesting things in mind. Like I've said, I don't want to delve too much into my secrets, because it's not like I necessarily think anyone's going to rip me off, but it's I want there to be some kind of a surprise. It's pretty much that simple. But I've been putting a lot of mental energy into sort of thinking about it and figuring out, like I said, what I want to do, how I want to do it. I actually need to talk to I have a good friend who does visual art, digital visual art. I don't know if he technically classifies himself as like a graphic designer per se. I know he does like character art. This guy I went to high school with, Jimmy. He's a really, really talented artist. But I want to see if I can commission him to do some artwork for me, specifically in a digital format. One of the things that I want to try and do is incorporate like a sort of a green screen behind the game table, and then over it project in like the editing software, project basically like a night sky. So, you know, just like dark night sky, big moon, some clouds rolling across, maybe like a swarm of bats like flying across the moon periodically, like that kind of thing. And it's fine if it loops. Like, I don't, you know, it doesn't need to be like 2 hours of completely like non-looping, you know, anything, because that's a lot to ask. But if it's like, you know, a couple of minutes and then it loops, you know, I'm pretty okay with that. And I obviously I don't know if that's in his sort of thing is in his wheelhouse, but it's more in his wheelhouse than it is mine. And if I can throw money at a friend as well to do something cool for me, then you know, I'm pretty on board with that. So I need to talk to him and see if that's something he can do. If not, I might have to teach myself how to do animation. So there's some other random crap I'll be learning, maybe. So again, right now we're doing all of the sort of spikes on this guy. We're also going to be getting all of these down his spine. So as well throw a coat on those now while I'm thinking about it. But yeah, I super want to... realistically, I probably should have messaged him about it earlier while I was thinking about it then, but I also kind of came up with the idea initially, I think, at work. And when I'm on the floor working, I can't really be using my cell phone either. So wasn't really a time I could just sort of like immediately drop him a message and be like, hey, can you do this thing? So I will I'll have to do that tomorrow or maybe after the stream if I'm still thinking about it and not too tired. Then I'll send him a quick message and see so that he can just kind of get back to me whenever. All right. What do we think? Little spiky beard. He looks pretty angry. I like this guy. I don't know what it is. There's something about his like underbite that he just reminds me of a like English bulldog, and I think those guys are adorable. So I like this guy. I was trying to come up with a good name for him earlier. I was trying to convince my 2-year-old daughter to name him, but she didn't quite understand the concept of coming up with a name for something, so that didn't quite work out. But the effort was there. At least on my part. My daughter was super lazy about it. So. All right. All right. So he now has some wonderful nails and spiky little facey bits and his little mohawk is all spiky and ready to go for the next color, I believe. Before I start the next color, however, we're going to grab our brown wash again. We're going to hit these teeth and that way those can dry while I'm working on the other 2 colors of gray. Trying to sort of plan ahead a little bit here. Sometimes I do it better than others. Just kind of soaking the excess out of the deep recesses. We don't want to pool this too much. Just a little bit collected in the extreme recesses by the gums, and enough to sort of evenly stain the surface, but we don't want to drown it. When this stuff dries, if it's too pooled, in any one area. As it dries, it will leave behind like little, like you can see the tide marks, the pools where they were. It's just little spots and speckles and stuff. So we want an even coat. Okay, so on to the medium gray. Take a little bit of this, and let's hit the mohawk first. So we're gonna do like roughly the top, I don't know, 2/3. It's kind of how I've been breaking things down with this, is doing, since I'm using 3 colors, it's basically like paint the entire thing, one like the dark color, and then 2/3 of that becomes the medium color, and then 1/3 of the initial coat becomes whatever the highlight is. Seems to be working out okay. There's no real super good formula for why I chose to do that, other than I just thought it looked good. There's also no way I'm exact in that either. I'm just kind of eyeballing it and letting the chips fall where they may. Alright, so little spines down the back are done. Next, we're going to do his little toesies. Highlight those up. Yeah. So this army the Gloomspite gets is going to be a fun little addition to my sort of roster of armies. It'll be my first destruction army, which is one of the 4 Grand Alliances. The Grand Alliances are set as follows. There is Order, Chaos, Death, and Destruction. And my first army was Nurgle, and that fell under Chaos. He is the Chaos God of entropy, decay, death, things like that. Plague. Interestingly enough, he's probably the nicest out of all of the Chaos Gods. Everybody else is kind of a dick. But he's a pretty fun guy. He just likes to have fun and bestow his blessings upon as many people as possible. That being said, my Legions of Nagash is my Death Army, my undead. And they are super fun. I also have a growing Night Haunt army, which is more undead, but it's like ghosts and stuff like that, as opposed to mostly like skeletons and zombies. But that being said, the ghosts can also be taken in a Legions of Nagash army. So by playing Legions of Nagash, I basically get all the cool toys, or most of them at least. And yeah, so that's a big part of that. What else do I have? I don't really have an Order army as of yet. There are a couple that I have in mind. That I wouldn't mind starting. The foremost on that list is there's an army my brother actually plays. So I have his army here, which means that I can sort of like try it out and play with it and probably even use it in some battle reports at some point. But Sylvaneth is the one that has my interest in on the order side, and Sylvaneth are essentially it's the leader of the faction is what is her name? Why am I blanking on her name right when I try and think of it? Boy, oh boy. She's an elf. That's all I remember right now. Why can't I? Alariel. There we go. Got it. Nailed it. Alariel. She is the goddess of life. And her people are the Sylvaneth, which are mostly like dryads, tree folk, the spirits of elves that have basically inhabited trees and sort of animated them. Some more vengeful than others. But they're really cool. They're a super fun army. And I would really like to have a batch of like sinister trees like running around just smashing things. That just looks like fun to me. And they're fun to paint because I painted up most of my brother's army. I say most because whatever I didn't paint just is so far unpainted. So I just never finished painting his army. But it's sort of an eventual work in progress. Like I plug away a little here and there when I remember and when I can. But it's not crazy high on my priority list in general. Although he did proposition me to sort of take on one of his larger models that he's particularly excited about and treat it as a commission. So he would pay me for it for painting it. So that has sort of like bumped that a little bit further up my my list, but still not, especially with the pandemic going on and all that stuff, like not like he's going to be using it anytime soon. So and all of his stuff is here anyway, so even if there wasn't a pandemic, you know, he's not really using it, so not overly concerned. Okay, anyway, I'm sure he'd be less than excited about that set of answers, but you know, it's coming eventually. It's on my radar. It's there. Oh, poopy. I wanted to pick up some of this paint. All right, so now we've got our light gray. We're going to go back through here and basically just put a little dot like on the sort of the narrowest point of these little face spikes. We don't want to be too heavy-handed with it. We want it to show up but not take over. We're just popping some little highlight dots on these little spikies. We got his chin done. Rinse. Pick up a little bit more paint. We're gonna hit his toes. Okay, toes are done. And lastly, we're just gonna dab the tops of these little spikes on his back. All right. We highlighted the teeth. We did all three grays on all of the little bits and pieces. Let's just kind of run down the sides. All right. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, the final squig is done. And he looks pretty cool. All right. So we're moving on. That's that. So let's talk zombies. Now that those guys are done, we'll let them finish drying up. So zombies. Boy, oh boy, zombies. So I picked up on eBay a couple of lots. One was for 30 of these old Fantasy Battles zombies. Now I say old, they are probably from, I would say, the late 90s, maybe, the sculpts. Just to kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about here. The base even says 99. 1999, these things were sculpted. These are older than some people who've been alive. Well, I guess that's an obvious statement, because somebody could have literally been born yesterday. But either way. So this is 20 of that batch of 30. The other 10 are primed and waiting to be painted off on the wings here. So I'm going to grab one of those and we'll get started on that. But I also have, I picked up again, for cheap, another fresh box of zombies. Again, back from the Fantasy Battle days. It's the same as these. It is actually, these are, believe it or not, the current zombie models. So these were the zombie models that were sculpted in 1999, and they are still the most recent zombie sculpts. That being said, they're not terrible. They're a little cartoony and a little stylized for me. I wouldn't mind if they were a little bit more horror and a little less kind of funny zombies. But, you know, that's just me. I'm sure there are others who share that sentiment, but, you know, whatever. That's fine. Like I said, they are perfectly serviceable. And the thing is, as weird as their proportions are, like, they've kind of got big goofy heads and big goofy hands, and they're just kind of all around, like, cartoony looking. But they still paint up pretty well. I don't have any real examples. I painted one zombie that was on the that I painted on the stream. I don't remember what episode it was, like maybe 2, 3, 4. It was one of the early episodes, let's put it that way. Get that out of the way for now. And he's behind me somewhere on this shelf, probably up on the 3rd shelf up here, so completely out of visible range. But he was the first zombie that I ever painted, and he was a gift from a friend. It was just the one single zombie, but he was fun, and it was kind of like a test for how I thought I might want to paint some zombies. Ultimately, I liked it, but it was, you know, there's changes that can be made. And I have seen on like Instagram and stuff on other artists' feeds that they have done a very good job of painting zombie skin in a way that like actually registers as kind of like creepy. So even though it's on a model that is sculpted in sort of like a cartoony way, they're able to paint that cartoony-ish model in a way that actually sort of like looks just kind of creepy. So I don't know that I will be able to replicate it, but I can at least draw inspiration from it and do my very best to emulate it. we'll see how that goes. And I'm over here like just double-fisted mugs right now. I got coffee and water, so just finishing off this coffee because it's already cold, long cold, and I just don't want to waste it. And a little water to balance out, keep myself hydrated. All right, so zombies, that's where we are. I've getting all kinds of off here, so let's jump back down to the desk here. We'll get our light centered again. So I'm going to pull in all of the zombies that we have to choose from, and I'm not entirely sure which of these I want to start with, as sort of like, you know, whatever, my first one of the bunch. Zombies are an interesting unit. They get really good, like, okay, so zombies in general, like just the broad topic of zombies. When you think of zombies, one of them is not that big a deal. Like, they're really slow, they're not particularly strong. I mean, obviously some horror movies have made zombies into like very fast, like super, you know, aggro creatures, but traditionally, let's say, take that for whatever that's worth, but traditionally zombies are like these slow, shambling, stumbling creatures, you know, that are just, they're there, they want brains, they're not highly intelligent, they're not very agile, they're just kind of there, right? But the threat of a zombie is not like the one single zombie. Like, I personally could probably kill a zombie. You know what I mean? Like, the idea is to kill it in the head, right? Like, that's traditionally their sort of soft spot. But like, I have a pretty firm belief that like, if I came face to face with a zombie, I could probably walk out of that unscathed and generally alive. The problem with zombies is that they don't tend to come alone. There's very rarely just a zombie. It's usually like, oh, here's like 20 zombies that are all shambling down the street, or like, you know, coming through your neighborhood or something like that. You know what I mean? So like, they're not their strength lies in their numbers, and when they come in large numbers, they are terrifying. And so Games Workshop has done, I think, a really cool sort of like envisioning of that on the tabletop, which is to say, the more zombies you have in a horde, the better they are in terms of their stats, like their chance to hit, their chance to wound, all that stuff goes up, like way up, when you start to get like real big numbers. And I think they max out at like 60 in a unit. At which point, like, so for those that don't know Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, and Warhammer 40k, they're D6 based, so everything is a 6-sided dice. So when you're looking at you know, your chance to hit, and it's like a 5 up, right? That means you have to roll a 5 or a 6, 5 or above, in order to hit. These guys get down to like a 2 up to hit or something like that, or maybe it's 2 up to wound, and then like a 3 up to hit or something like that, right? So that basically means you roll your, you know, if you've got like 40 guys that are in combat, then you're rolling 40 dice, and and all of those that roll, you know, like a 3 or greater, so 3, 4, 5, 6, which is most of a D6, those all hit. And then you would roll those dice again, and then you would have to get a 2 or better to actually wound. And then that, like, you know, they'd get a chance to save, potentially. But there's just so many attacks that come through. And it's basically to sort of a way of getting across the fact that, like, there are so many things coming at you, so many, like, arms reaching out to grab you and whatever, that, like, you could be, like, the most agile thing in the world, and you're still, like, eventually one of them is just gonna get you. So anyway, I just think it's really cool the way that they, like, there's some, what's the word I'm looking for? There's, like, an actual good word for it, but my brain doesn't want to work because I've been up since 3:30 this morning. That might have something to do with it. But anyway, it's a neat, just a fun unit, I guess. But they're interesting in another way, which is most units have, like, a champion, a musician, and a banner bearer. These guys have the banner, which in this particular case, he's been modeled to look like this. So he's just got, like, a stick with some hands on it and some bells and a couple of heads, and, you know, he's just a guy. And then the musician is this fine fella right here that probably can't make it out. I'm going to try and tilt it in a way that you can and maybe get the camera to focus. He's got, like, a weird tambourine, and he's hitting it with a stick. But the tambourine is like a human face stretched over a wooden frame. So, you know, that's kind of creepy, I guess. But they don't have a unit champion. It's just, like, the musician and the banner bearer. Like, normally I would go for, like, that trio and paint them first, just because I like to do that. But in this case, I think I want to paint this guy first. As I'm sitting here looking at them, because this guy, again, I don't know if my camera will cooperate here, but he is wielding as a weapon somebody's long bone. It looks like a giant femur, much larger than his own. So I'm not sure entirely what that bone belongs to. It's massive, but his guts are spilling out. He's got some cool hair. I don't know. I like where this guy's kind of coming from. So this guy in particular, I think he's where we're starting. Yeah, I like that. All right, so we're gonna move these guys up out of the way. Try and keep them back as much as possible. Okay, so let's put him on our little handle, and we'll kind of get started slapping some base coats on him before it gets too much later. I'm going to be using, to start, I want to get a really light color on that skin. So we're going to take something I've already got on my palette, which is a decent base coat for the skin, I think. This Rakarth flesh that I was using for the teeth on the Squigs. So it's like this off beige color. Like, it's totally in my way. All right. So this gentleman does not appear to be wearing a shirt, but he has some remnants of sleeves on one arm. I'm just sort of trying to look him over real quick so I know what I'm painting where. So we'll start just by kind of painting his back. And we're going to put this color on here. Now, once this dries, I might even only just do one coat of this, as opposed to, like, normally I would try and do, like, you know, 2 coats, maybe 3, to get, like, a really good, like, even coverage kind of coat. But in this case, I think I'm just going to do the 1, because I'm going over it with another color anyway. If this doesn't quite get perfect coverage, it's not the end of the wow. It's not a big deal. This is my brain, folks. It is done for the day. It's wow, yeah. End of the day? Is it now? What the hell was the saying I was trying to... End of the road. Maybe? Is that? I don't know. Whatever. Alright. Time to move on and stop dwelling on that, because boy oh boy do I feel dumb and dumber. So yeah, we're painting this skin tone on this zombie. So this is, like I said, a very creamy, sort of like creamy gray, like an off gray, off white, something like that. Beige-y. This is actually, like, I use this color all the time. Maybe too much. I don't know. Can you ever really use a color too much? Probably. I'm also painting the bone this color. Like I said, I use this for a lot of stuff. The bone will get just a different treatment than the skin. The skin's actually going to be going paler than where this is. As I said, I'll be putting a lighter color over it. But then I'll be applying some washes to sort of darken it down a little bit and put some color, a little bit of color into it. Oh, I watered that down way too much. Brush full of paint. Try to find a little balance there. Oh yeah, that's what we're looking for. Nice and creamy. Creamy, smooth base coats. That's what we like. Alright. Even though I said I was only going to do one coat, I'm still kind of going back into some areas and giving it a second little once-over here. A second once-over. Oh boy, guys. My brain, it is doing some things. Not entirely sure what those things are. It's doing some things. So, unfortunately, I never really got into Warhammer Fantasy Battles, like, heavily when I played, and I never really got into, like, reading the lore. I think I'm going to have to, like, go back and try and, like, poke around and see if this was a thing. Like, maybe I'm stealing this from somewhere and just don't, like, recognize it or realize it. But the... I had this idea of, I think I might try one of the other armies that I'm looking at is Cities of Sigmar, and I like how creative it can be. And so one of the things I want to do is a Realm of Death City of Sigmar, but like use Cities of Sigmar as the book or as the rule set, but then use like different models as the actual like army. And by that I mean like I would still use some of the human elements of that particular army. What I would like to do is like have, since it's going to be Realm of Death centric, I want it to be essentially the city, the living side of the city that is run by my vampire lord. So my vampire lord is the general for my undead army. And he, like, obviously he has raised this undead army, and he has like trained and hired a bunch of necromancers to basically keep that undead train rolling. But he is like, he fancies himself a ruler, you know what I mean? Like very much akin, very much akin to the vampire counts or vampire courts, I think it was. Yeah, vampire courts in vampire in Warhammer Fantasy Battles. There we go. I tell you guys, struggling. But anyway, so I know I'm sort of taking some ideas from that and putting it towards, like, that's influencing a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. But what I want to do is have, like, instead of like the you know, the Free Guild general on Griffin, I want to still use my vampire lord on Zombie Dragon, but instead of using him as such, I'll use him as, like, use the rules for the general on Griffin, but with that other model. The problem is they've got completely different, like, base sizes and stuff like that, so that might not work. I might have to think of something else. But the idea remains the same. Like, the generals and like the heroes of that army would essentially all be like vampires, and then but they would be leading effectively like humans, regular alive humans that live in the city, leading them into battle. And they like, some of them might be like thralls in some way, shape, or form to the vampires. But I'm thinking more like, you know, it's the realm of death, but not everything in it is dead. Like, there are living things that live in the realm of death. And it could very well be that this city, maybe the dead and the living live side by side, you know, like as your family member dies, there's like a ritual you can perform that they are like resurrected in some manner, so that now like your family's history and knowledge can be passed down, you know, like, and you always have that one relative that's like always around. So like, I don't know, that could be cool. But the idea would be like, you know, when they like, let's say like they go out to war, like campaigning or something like that, he would bring his undead hosts, but then to like sort of garrison the city, he's got the living folks that, you know, sort of man the walls of the city. And I think that would be like a fun way to play it. So what I've been trying to think of is like, how would I paint the units that are the living denizens of whatever this city is, which I should probably come up with a name for at some point. That seems like a good idea, but I don't know, just haven't gotten there yet. Anyway, these are just like all the weird things I think about when I'm like at work and stuff like that, and have nothing but time to think. Let me know in the chat, by the way, or, you know, comments, on YouTube, things like that. If any of this sounds cool, or you have any questions or suggestions or anything along those lines, because that's very much like infancy right now. I'm still planning out all kinds of stuff. I don't have names for half of these things, like just kind of some weird ideas. So this is the color I'm applying now on top of the Rakarth flesh. This is Althuan Gray. Now this is like a very cold white. You know, it's about as close to white as you can get, and still technically be blue. Like, it's just got a ton of blue tones to it. But they're just super, 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 super light. It reads as essentially white. But it does have those cold blue tones to it. And this is another color that I absolutely love. I use it as a highlight for a lot of things. I'll mix it in, and I don't know. Just a big fan. But it is a very, very much a thin, light paint, so it does not have the best coverage in and of itself, which is why I put down this other color first, and now I'm going kind of back over and making sure that everything has this this color on it now. And I'm not really paying too much mind if I get some of this on the, like, I've gotten it all over the pants and stuff like that. Like, I'll go back and repaint all of that stuff anyway. In fact, I'm not 100% sure what color I'm going to paint his pants or clothes. And he's got like like I said, like a sleeve of his old shirt. And that's it. No other shirt. No other really anything. Just a sleeve on one arm. But as I had been, the last zombie I painted, which was the first zombie I painted, how cool is that? That only happens once. But anyway, I painted him in the color scheme that I thought would look good. So I was just talking about the living citizens of this Death City, right? And so the colors that I imagine for those guys, in terms of like their yeah, something like that. The colors that I imagine for their uniforms, their outfits or whatever, would be like a combo of these two colors right here, probably. So this is Screamer Pink. This is, it looks very red because it's next to this like sort of beige color, but it's like a magenta-y color. And ideally this is, I think this would not be the actual color. GW came out with a new color, and I honestly don't remember the name of it, but it's basically a burgundy. And I think I would want to do like that burgundy, and then like a beige cream color as the sort of corresponding color. And then do like either a combination of like, you know, the burgundy shirt with like cream pants, or maybe do like that sort of medieval quartering style. So it's like one leg is cream, one leg is the burgundy, and then on the shirt, it's basically reversed. So, you know, it's burgundy, and then cream, and then cream. You know what I mean? So they're whatever. Anyway, so that's kind of what I want to do with their color scheme. And so I painted that other zombie with a burgundy burgundy shirt, I believe. And I liked it. I liked the way that it turned out. I don't remember how I did his skin though, so I don't know. But it's still, like I said, kind of something I'm thinking about. Because they're very much a horde, it's probably going to be like a lot of sort of combinations of stuff. So some will have like black pants, some will have brown pants, some might have, you know, like one burgundy leg, one cream leg, some might have just all cream. I don't know. We're going to kind of, to a point, just sort of play by ear with these guys. Right now I'm just letting this, letting this one coat dry. Grabbing a slightly different brush to hopefully speed up this base coating process a little bit. Believe it or not, we are still base coating. We're trying to get up to the color that we want the actual sort of base of the skin to be, which is this Ulthuan gray color. And over this, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be doing a couple of washes. I'm going to be doing one of Reichland Flesh Shade, which is like a reddish, it's kind of a reddish flesh shade. Like, I don't really know how else to describe it. Like a reddish brown kind of color. Not quite sepia, a little too red to be sepia. Not quite orange. Alright, so we have, oh man, is that bright. Still bright. That's better. I think you can see in the camera that has like a little bit of blue to it. You can see it's much cooler, especially in comparison to my thumb there behind it. Like, so, anyway. So, while we're here, I think I'm going to use a little bit. Let's see if I can bring this paint back a little bit. Oh yeah, that's good. This is Bugman's Glow, and this was what I used as the base coat for the Squigs base color. And I'm painting his intestines, his guts, with this color. And this will act as the base color. And then on top of this, I will put, again, some washes. I'm thinking purple and red wash, just to kind of like bring out the intestine-y goodness. May not have been the right brush for this particular part. Try something a wee bit smaller. Just to kind of tuck into those details that I need to. Grab our Althuan Gray again. We're just going to come in and touch up a couple little spots where I that previous color onto some of the skin in places I did not want to. All right, we're good to go here. Okay. Now I got a little bit of that Althuan Gray on the guts. We gotta go back and there we go. Ta-da! Bleh. Okay, so I want my Reichland. Nope, that one. There it is. Let's shake. So the idea in my head is the red tones in this flesh shade, and then I'm going to use dark, like olive green wash as well. And the green tones in this and the red tones in this will mix and sort of desaturate out into a brown, in theory, or something close, something just kind of gross looking, hopefully. We're going to try it on this fine individual and see if I'm right. Right now I am sort of thinning out this flesh wash a little bit. I don't want it to be quite so strong. That's good. Yeah, we're just going to slap this over all the skin. You know what? We'll get the guts too. We'll just do the whole torso. Why not? Kind of making this up as we go. There's no real formula, no real rhyme or reason. Just kind of thinking this might look good on the guts as well. All right. Avoid that brush a little bit. Come back in and suck up any crazy dark pools. We got most of it. All right. Guess we're gonna let that dry a little bit. As you can see now, it's taken on just like a really, really, really pale, gross look. I don't know. Can you even see that? Or is it just super washed out by this light being so damn bright? Anyway. So while that's doing its thing, we're going to grab a little bit of this Athonian camo shade. And we are going to do very similar. We're just going to take some of that and apply that to our palette so that we can thin it down ever so slightly and control how much is on there. All right. Just kind of blowing on this to try and get it to dry a little bit faster. Actually, jumping back to what I was saying at the top of the show about the stream kind of cutting out when I started after scheduling a stream as opposed to just sort of starting one up is the advertisement that goes out to everybody that basically, you know, the post that you all see that says like, hey, Wes is planning to go live with this thing at this time. That is where the video shows up. And that is essentially like its own link. So when or its own stream. So when the feed gets cut to it at like 9 or whatever, when the stream like on Facebook Live actually like starts, and that crash that it gets every single time I try and schedule ahead of time, and you know, the one I was describing at the beginning. So that essentially like kills that link and makes that no longer effective. So I have to start a new stream from scratch, which means all of the advertising that I've been doing, all of the links that I've been sending out to people, they click on it and it's going to take them to nothing or tell them it doesn't exist anymore. And that's a real problem for me because like here I am trying to promote the thing that I'm doing. And I have a sneaking suspicion that people aren't getting it. That's a bummer. Okay, that wash is done. So we're going to come back in with this dark green. We are going to kind of avoid the guts area. We're going to put it all over the rest of the skin though. Again, it is vaguely watered down. I'm not going for a super sort of saturated version of this color. Like I want it to be very pale and sort of lifeless. Although I think this kind of like sickly green color is going to sort of by default kind of make things look a little dead or sick or something. I think that first wash may not have quite been dry. I think I just like wiped that off a bunch. Well, anyway, that's what we've got. God, this light camera do not get along. Why does it feel like the focus is back on this mat? Is it just me, or does this look nice and crispy, but this is not? What is this doing? Your video. Oh, now the focus is way up there. And I don't even know. It just gets so buggy sometimes. Anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Not quite the color I was going for. Honestly, I think maybe I should have gone for the more... Let me just take... Waiting for live video. Connecting... Okay. I don't think it did that before. I don't know why I just did that. Like, disconnected the video and then reconnected it. Maybe because I was fiddling with my camera settings or something. I don't know. Alright, we're going to take a little bit of this green and we're just going to go straight out of the pot. We're not even going to bother with the palette, and we're just going to kind of slather this over model on the skin. Let's see if that gives us... I already like this better. I think this is the answer. I'm just kind of like stippling it on there, like just kind of stabbing it in to, especially like the recesses and stuff. Alright. I already like where that's at. There's a lot more sort of variation in the tones. Back. Oh, looks like there's some sort of gross pooling back there. Still don't want, like, really bad pooling. A little better. We do want some of that definition. We do want it settling in the recesses, but we don't want it flooding the recesses. If that makes sense. Just all right, no more. We're going to let that dry. And it's just about 11 o'clock anyway. So I think we've got a good start on this zombie's skin. Basically what I'm going to be doing is using, I think, stippling as a technique specifically. I want to go in and on like the cheekbones and up on towards like the forehead and the temples, and like basically on like all the flat areas higher up, you know, facing the light coming down on it. I'm gonna use I think I'm gonna go back and use this Rakarth flesh. So we're gonna take a little bit of this, and then I think Blood Witch flesh maybe. Whoop. Throwing that all over the place. Feel like that's the answer. Unless... I don't know. I'm going to toy around with it, but I think I'm going to come back in with these two colors. Maybe even just mix the two together in some way to start stippling on some highlights on these guys. And like, I want it to look splotchy. I want it to look like, you know, it's not like a smooth, even, like almost like I want it to look moldy in a sense, you know. So we'll see if I can pull it off. I might even go back and forth between stippling in these colors and then go back in and stipple some green of that green wash, the Athonian camo shade I just put on. So stipple some of this back in over some of that, and then stipple that back. You know what I mean? Just go stipple back and forth to give it some like mottled texture and, you know, kind of like a weird, like uneven appearance. So anyway, that's my game plan. That's what we're gonna try. I don't know how well necessarily I'll be able to pull it off, but the old college try for sure. We're gonna throw some of this gray onto this guy's hair. It's just got like this slicked back, a little Superman curl in the front. Actually kind of adorable. He is a well-styled zombie for sure. That's fun. I like that a lot. All right. Cool. Now he's got a cool hairdo. Okay. So, I think this is where we're going to call it. It's just after 11. Stream got off to a bit of a late start, so I let it run a little bit late to sort of compensate. But I like where we're at with this. We finished the Squigs. That's the important thing. So that's done. And I do want to have some of these zombies done. Maybe not for the first couple of battle reports, but certainly for some of the early battle reports. You know, once my Vampire Lord learns that he can summon and raise the dead, then you know, that might come in handy. So anyway, yeah, pretty much it, guys. So we finished those Squigs. We got a good start on this zombie. I like the direction he's headed in. I think I'm going to be able to at least come to a close approximation of what I'm going for with the skin. But like I said, this is sort of a bunch of experimenting, so I'm going to be trying, you know, like the next one I do, I might even do like the same base coats, but then instead of like watering down the washes, just do like a heavy skin, like flesh wash, and then a heavy green wash. You just make sure that like it's not super pooling, but you know, just go straight out of the pot so that the colors are a little bit more intense. And see if I like that a little bit better. And it's just sort of like a matter of like dialing in like the certain things that I like and don't like. So, yeah. But anyway, okay, let's close this out. So, I, as always, week after week, I am Wes. Be here, or I here, since there's really just me. Staghammer Studios, we thank you, I thank you for watching, tuning in, hanging out. It's been a pleasure. I know I had fun. I really hope that you guys all have fun as well. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please follow me on social media. Head on over to Instagram and Twitter. There I can be found at Wes Odinson, WESODINSON, on both of those. Also, Wes Odinson is the name of my YouTube channel, as that is the sort of online handle I've been using for a very long time. So if you, like I said, head on over to YouTube and subscribe. Go ahead and find the VODs for these. If you like them, share them with your friends, that kind of thing, if you have friends that you think might be into this kind of thing. That's it. That's all I got, guys. I really appreciate it once again. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope your coming week is wonderful as well. So until next time, until next week. Oh, actually, speaking of next week we're doing an early stream. Meaning next Friday is the 28th, which is my daughter's birthday. And we as a family have plans for the weekend, including Friday night. So I will be streaming Thursday night this coming week. The VOD for that stream will still go live on YouTube on Friday. I will set it to, sort of upload then, or go live then. But the stream will be happening on Thursday as a result. So I'll make sure that I advertise it as such, and try and do a little bit better job promoting it, sort of up until then. Anyway, okay, so that is it. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around and hanging out with me for a while. And until next Friday, take care of yourselves. Remember, Black Lives Matter. And, generally be good to each other out there. Take care of one another and stay safe. All right? Take care.